Hey guys, welcome to the review of NIKITA TSZYU's epic fifth round knockout of Dylan BIGGS last night in Newcastle. We're going to go through the results of the entire card and then we'll get into the main event. And I've got to say, there was some conjecture about the $60 price tag, but I for one thought it was well worth it. I thought it was a really stacked card. I won't say every fight was overly dramatic, but I think the build up to it, there's a couple of big knockouts in there as well. And of course, NIKITA TSZYU's, as I said at the start, epic knockout of Dylan BIGGS has really put the icing on the cake. And a night of some upsets too. There was, we'll get to that in a sec, but yeah, a couple of big upsets on the card. So the whole event started with Mark Schliebs' fifth round stoppage of Shamal Anuj. He moved to 13-2. Anuj dropped to 10-5, and wow, what a knockout it was. Just a devastating left hook in the corner and just put Shamal Anuj's lights out. So I'm really happy for Mark. He's had a couple of defeats in the last couple of years against the heavier and bigger guys than he is. So it was good to see him fight at his natural weight, which is bantamweight, and get a good victory. So where to from now? Look, I'm not going to say Anuj is, top shelf, top competition at this stage, but that's all aside or besides the point. It's really good just for Mark Schliebs to get a win under his belt, especially after that last fight against Rocky Ogden. So really happy for him, and let's see where he goes to. There's not a lot on the Australian scene for Mark Schliebs, but I'm sure there's plenty of guys out there of no limit want to invest in some opponents for him overseas. So good on him. We also had, which I was really impressed with, Darangara Truella with a unanimous 4-round decision over Brent Walton. Really good performance from Truella. The score, I actually haven't got the scores there, I apologise. But yeah, really impressed with this young kid. I think it was his pro debut. Brent Walton drops to 1-1. Truella is I'm not sure he's a cousin of Anthony Mundine, so very good pedigree there. But yeah, really impressive young kid at welterweight, so keep a look out for him. Then we go to Jason Fawcett with a 5-round decision over Jordan Martin. Jason Fawcett moves to 7-1. Jordan Martin drops to 2-2. Look, a good workmanlike performance from Jason Fawcett. He did get dropped by Martin, who looked okay. I think if I was going to give Jordan Martin any advice, to maybe keep your chin down a little bit when you're punching. He has his habit of boxing like this. But either way, look, good performance, good fight, by the way. And as was that first fight, I will say, I didn't actually say that with the Truella fight. It's a really action-packed 4-rounder between Walton and Truella as well. So, but the same as this one, Martin Fawcett, good fight. So Fawcett getting the decision there. Amber Amelia dropped a 6-round decision to Natasha Cureen. Really felt for Amber Amelia. She was a little bit upset after the decision. The scores were 59-55 times 2 and 58-56 in favour of Cureen. I thought she boxed very well, did Natasha Cureen. Used that height, good jab, good movement, really kept Amber Amelia at bay. I just don't know whether maybe Amber Amelia needs to drop a division. This is the second fight for her where she's been outmatched as far as her height goes. So I'm just not sure whether she's going to be able to match it with these girls going forward. And it's a second consecutive feat after the last fight with Chanel Dargan. So I think she can fight. As I said, I think she just needs to drop back. She weighed 120 pounds last night, so that is actually super bantamweight. She needs to go back to 118, if not 115, if you ask me, if she can make it, of course. But she's just too short. She's pretty stocky, but her reach is too short. Her height is not tall enough, so I think she's going to battle against any of these girls at this weight. So let's see if she goes down to bantamweight, or even better, go back to super flyweight. The next fight was Liam Talifa. Actually, it wasn't the next fight. It was Monia Fathi and Joel Pavlidis. Well, this is the first upset of the night, and not quite sure I saw it the same way. The official scorecard was 58-56 times 3, so 4 rounds to 2. So that was Monia Fathi losing a 6-round decision to Joel Pavlidis at middleweight. Fathi did go up to middleweight to fight Pavlidis. Look, I thought maybe it was a draw. If not, Fathi might have just got the decision. But having said that, Pavlidis took it right to Fathi. And it's a little bit odd to think that before this fight that the one and only Jeff Fennick had come out and said that actually Fathy could be the next big thing in boxing. Well, he's just dropped the 6-round decision to a guy that was 4-2, now 5-2-1, and Fathy drops to 6-1. Look, I thought Fathy, I know he apparently in between rounds, Billy did say that he had an injured hand. I'm not quite sure. Didn't seem too distressed about it afterwards. He did say it during the fight. I will say not after the fight. Or not that I saw anyway. So, but afterwards, the body language didn't say to me that he had an injured hand. Normally, when they take the glove off, they're very, very weary of that hand, and he didn't seem to. He was actually quite happy before the decision was announced. So I'm not quite going to buy the sore hand argument. However, it might be proven wrong. He'll probably come out today and have a broken hand confirmed. But either way, I don't think it bothered him enough to not be able to defeat Joel Pavlidis. Now, all respect to Joel Pavlidis, but I think he was viewed as just another rung on the ladder for Monty Fathy in his climb up that ladder, and I think it was a major shock. And he did say actually afterwards he was threatening to retire. Well, I think Monty Fathy, I think if you're going to let one loss like that get the better of you, I think maybe you might be in the wrong sport. Because I think even though I thought he might have done enough or maybe a draw, I think the fact you lost, it was close enough to maybe go one way or the other. And just because you're the red-hot favourite and you lose to a young goer in Joel Pavlidis, I just don't think it's it's enough to start threatening to retire from the sport, especially when you've been talking in the last few weeks about what you want to achieve and big things you want to go on to. So I think just cop this. I think in the end you've only got yourself to blame. I thought he actually won the first 3 rounds, and maybe Pavlidis won the last 3. But having said that, he took his foot off the gas. It's as simple as that, and allow Pavlidis to get into the fight and take those last 3 rounds. So again, as I said, only got himself to blame. But I'm sure if he's got the right mindset, he will be back. The next upset of the night was Brandon Grush with a second round knockout. Well, it was more of a destruction of Liam Taliva. What a knockout that was, and what a first round. Looked like Taliva had Grush's measure. I thought he looked like he was doing what he sort of wanted to do. Dropped Grush, got a little bit of ahead of himself, and then Brandon Grush with that crushing knockdown to finish out the round, which could possibly be the round of the year. It was a great round of boxing. And then the first 15 seconds of the second round, just a massive left hook, and down goes Taliva. No need to count. It was waved off on the spot. And I'm just so rapt for Brandon Grush because Taliva was the A side. He was 5-0, now 5-1. Grush was 1-0, now 2-0. He hadn't boxed, I think, for, was it a long time? It was a few years anyway. He just had this calling that he wanted to give boxing another go. He apparently was an okay amateur, but he was the heavy underdog, and the way he did it was just a sensational knockout. So I'm rapt for Brandon Grush that he got the knockout, and I'm a fan of Brandon Grush going forward. In the co-main event, the head splitter, Isaac Hardman stopped I thought, very, very disappointing Troy Coleman in the 5th round. Isaac Hardman moves to 15-2. Troy Coleman drops to 12-3. Look, I'm not saying we expected massive things of Troy Coleman. I mean, he's an international opponent. Isaac Hardman was there to fight, don't get me wrong. He wanted to make a statement. If you actually read his lips before they were called to center ring to touch gloves, you could see what he was saying. I'm going to do whatever to this guy. But I was really disappointed in the performance of Troy Coleman. As I said, Isaac Hardman came to fight. He put it on Coleman. He was looking for those big shots. He took a few early, did Isaac Hardman, but took them very, very well. But I just thought Troy Coleman just didn't show a lot. Hardman, he came to fight, as I said, but Troy Coleman, I know he's not a big puncher anyway, but didn't really show anything, if you ask me. And but that's not a slight on Isaac Hardman. He did what he had to do, and I'm actually happy that Isaac got this fight under his belt, because I think I said in the preview, not all fights have to be massive events and massive tests. I think Troy Coleman was the perfect opponent for Isaac. It's another international opponent, and Isaac just needs to get those types of fights under his belt. But I'm sure in another 2 or 3 fights, you will see Isaac Hardman take another big step to that world level. Troy Coleman obviously definitely wasn't world class, but I think another 1 or 2 of these fights for Isaac, and I want to see him probably this time next year take that next step like he did with Michael Zarafa, and have another crack at it. But as I said, as disappointing as Troy Coleman was, I think that Isaac Hardman did all that he had to do, got him out of there in impressive fashion. So full respect to Isaac Hardman, 15-2 now. And as I said, I expect this time next year to be taking that big step up to world level again. What is he, 15-2 now? By then, hopefully, he's maybe 17-2 and ready to go. On to the main event. And what more can we say about this one? NIKITA TSZYU with just a sensational 5th round stoppage over the defending champion Dylan Biggs, who did walk first into the ring and was introduced first. I knew that would be the case. I mean, NIKITA said he didn't really care, but you could tell that Dylan Biggs wasn't overly happy in the ring beforehand. I'm pretty sure he might have given George Rose a bit of the side eye. But anyway, all that aside, they both got in the ring. And, as we all, or a lot of us suspected, that first round was something to behold. Both came out throwing bombs. Dylan Biggs was the first one to land a bomb, and he put NIKITA TSZYU down. And look, I was really impressed by both fighters in that instance. One was that Dylan Biggs, he was cool, he was calculated, set up the right hand and landed it. But to NIKITA TSZYU's credit, he went down. You could see he didn't panic. He looked up at Dylan Biggs to say, okay, you got me. I'll take a breath. I'll get up, reset, and we go again. He wasn't hurt at any stage. I don't care what anyone says. NIKITA TSZYU wasn't hurt. It was more just that, just being caught. It was almost like a roadblock. Dylan Biggs threw the right hand coming forward. NIKITA TSZYU, even though he was backing up, was actually coming forward at the time, and it just sort of hit him, stopped him in his tracks, and just put him down for a quick knockdown. So, but as I said, credit to Dylan Biggs for landing the shot, and also NIKITA TSZYU for taking it really well, and not just taking it really well, but to get up nice and composed and just got back to the job at hand and finished off the round. It was a 10-8 round to Dylan Biggs. Obviously, I thought he won the rest of the round anyway, so that was a 10-8 round. But from there, it was just all one-way traffic. Super, super impressed with the way NIKITA TSZYU handled himself in the corner after the first round. But then from the second round onwards, he just buckled down. And pretty much, I suppose, to break it down quite simply, he just took Dylan Biggs apart over the next 4 rounds. And Dylan Biggs tried. I thought NIKITA started to get his range. And what really, again, I was impressed with NIKITA TSZYU is that he did get caught straight down the pipe with the right hand. And I think I've said on here a couple of times, I've always been a little bit worried about NIKITA, that he's open to that right hand straight down the middle. While he made the adjustment. And when Dylan Biggs was throwing that right hand, he had that left hand nice and high. Didn't really get caught again by a big shot from Dylan Biggs. So that was a real good adjustment. Similar to what Tim TSZYU did early in his career as well. Just made adjustments as he went. Made some mistakes beforehand, but learned from those mistakes and then made amends. And Dylan Biggs, I don't think, really landed another big right hand on him after that. So really impressed with that second round from NIKITA. Won the round clearly in my book. The third round, I thought you could probably see the cracks starting to appear in Dylan Biggs. It was a close round, I will say. It could have probably gone either way. I did give the round to NIKITA TSZYU in the end, but it was a very, very close round. But even though Dylan was competitive, I thought NIKITA just, I won't say took the round off, but just took the round. I think he thought he'd squared it off after that first round knockdown. I think you could tell that he was thinking in his mind, he was starting to get Dylan Biggs' range. He'd taken Biggs' power. And I just think he knew from that point on that he had more than enough to beat Dylan Biggs. And even though that third round was close-ish, I still gave it to NIKITA TSZYU. But then we go to the fourth round. And, it was all just one-way traffic, wasn't it? NIKITA TSZYU, just an absolute avalanche over Dylan Biggs. And Dylan Biggs, I think, he took a pounding, let's face it, but I thought he did handle himself well, took some big shots, but at the end of the round, he was done. He looked spent. And I must admit, I was surprised that after 4 rounds, he was completely gassed. And I know the onslaught from NIKITA TSZYU had a lot to do with that. There was punches coming from everywhere, but I was so impressed with NIKITA TSZYU's killer instinct. And unlike a few of his earlier fights in his career, he's only had 8 fights now, even though, unlike those earlier fights in his career where he got a bit excited and left himself open to those counters, he was a killer against Biggs, but didn't lose the composure, didn't leave any holes, and Dylan Biggs really had nowhere to go but to try and hold. And I don't think he actually did that very well. I don't think he was experienced enough to grab hold of NIKITA TSZYU. NIKITA TSZYU, on the other hand, just pretty much threw him around like a rag doll, battered him from corner to corner, and head, body, you name it. Started to really hurt him underneath as well. And at the end of the 4th round, I wouldn't have begrudged Dylan Biggs' corner for actually pulling me out of there at that stage, because he was done, and not just hurt, but just completely gassed. And as I said, a combination of the onslaught, but also just the work rate that NIKITA TSZYU was putting into the fight at that stage. So that was a clear round for NIKITA TSZYU. Possibly could have even scored at 10-8. I scored at 10-9. Not that it mattered in the 5th round, of course, because it didn't. I was just going to say it didn't last long. I think it lasted till maybe the last 5 seconds of that 5th round. Dylan Biggs finally going down with a body shot. NIKITA TSZYU went from up top strictly down below and really hurt Dylan Biggs to the body, and it was all over with a few seconds left in the 5th round. It was, I'm not sure it was waved off or the towel come in. Didn't really matter either way, and down went Dylan Biggs. So a few things to take out of it. As I said, I was super impressed with the ground that NIKITA TSZYU has made and the adjustments that he's made throughout his fights. Now, in each of his fights, he's probably shown different little flaws, but in the next fight after that, he's corrected them. And as I said before, I was so impressed by the way he took that right hand early, made the adjustments, didn't get hit with it again, and then just made Dylan Biggs pay, just punch after punch after punch, or combination after combination. So, look, big props to Dylan Biggs. He hung in there. He went out on his shield. But I'm a big believer in levels, Levels, and that was more than highlighted last night, because Dylan Biggs, as much as he's been talked up as a young prospect, a lot of people tipped him in our Instagram poll. It was 50-50. I saw that Peanut on there. Is it Paul Bedell or whatever his name is? Peter Bedell, whatever his name is. Actually had the nerve to sit beside Tim Tszyu and pick Dylan Biggs to beat NIKITA TSZYU, which nearly made me fall off my chair, I will say. But look, as I said, good performance from Dylan Biggs, but the levels that were revealed in this fight, NIKITA TSZYU's on a one-way trajectory up, and unfortunately Dylan Biggs at this stage is just still at that national level. And I think, look, I think NIKITA TSZYU exposed him, and I say exposed in a nice way, not in a bad way, exposed him for being exactly what he is, an inexperienced 21-year-old kid. Now, I know he's had 10, now 11 fights, but hadn't fought anyone remotely resembling a national or international standard type of opponent. I know Dan Biggs has got a bit, a few raps on him, but still had only had 4 fights. And I'm not taking anything away from Dylan Biggs here, by the way, but I'm just telling it the way it is. He'd had 10 fights, but all against probably subpar opposition. You're coming against NIKITA TSZYU, and you can look good against the lesser type of opponents. When you come up against NIKITA TSZYU under the bright lights, you're going to get exposed, and it happens a lot when fighters take that step up. We see it a lot with national level fighters who then step up to international level, and this was a little bit that way, if you ask me. And as impressed as I was by Dylan Biggs' heart and his ticker that he showed in this event, as I said, I think he was just exposed for being a 21-year-old kid who probably was probably a little bit early for getting in the ring with NIKITA TSZYU. And as I said in the preview of the fight, there's no coincidence here that Team TSZYU targeted Dylan Biggs to fight at this stage, because I think he and it turned out to be the perfect opponent for him. He obviously had the Australian Super Welterweight belt. NIKITA TSZYU will probably vacate that now and then move up to maybe a regional belt and look to bigger and better things. But look, overall, very impressed by both fighters in different ways. NIKITA TSZYU, just an A-grade performance, did exactly what he had to do, and I think this might be his breakout fight. And Dylan Biggs, plenty of heart, but just needs to go back to the drawing board, regroup, and maybe go back to maybe the domestic level for another 5 to 6 fights, and then maybe look at going there again. Now, I know he had the broken hand. I get that. There was he did say today there was talk that he might have pulled out. Full respect to him for jumping in there, but look, let's be honest, it wouldn't have made any difference whatsoever. The right hand that he actually landed on NIKITA TSZYU early was more by timing rather than power, so I don't think the right hand really had that much to do with it. Mightn't have done it any favours, by the way, by landing it, but I think it was just that more timing rather than the power that put NIKITA TSZYU, which is why he wasn't hurt. It was more just, okay, you caught me in the right spot at the right time. I've gone down, I'm back up, and let's go again. But yeah, look, plenty of upside for Dylan Biggs as well. I think it'll be a really good learning curve for him going forward, and I'm sure he'll be back. But at this stage, I think Team Biggs have to regroup and probably reassess where they're at and say, okay, well, this is really a really wake up call as far as saying, okay, we're only at national level, and we have to go back and start again. NIKITA TSZYU, as I said, there's talk that he might be going to Vegas in March with his brother Tim. Still a lot to go water under the bridge with that fight. I will say that a whole event, because it's still got to work in with PBC and their schedule. So to say it's just going to be on the weekend of the rugby is great, and that's going to probably sell some more packages overseas. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the PBC when they want to put the fight on, not necessarily what No Limit want to do. So we're interested to see. I hope it comes off, because I'd love to be over there for the boxing and the league. I haven't been to a league game before, so hey, you got to try something for the first time, I suppose. So we'll see. But that, to me, is the card. Overall, a good card. A couple of upsets there. Good performances by NIKITA TSZYU and Isaac Harmon, a few of the undercard fighters there. But really liked the event and what No Limit have done and are doing. And they've got the next one, of course, on December 15. Interesting that it's not a pay-per-view, which was first muted by No Limit. They've gone back to I think it's a Friday night, free to air on Fox Sports. So something to look forward to as well. So let's hear your thoughts on the fight. Put the comments down below. But I couldn't have been more impressed by NIKITA TSZYU, and congratulations to his whole team. And can't wait to see what 2024 holds for him, and also to Team BIGGS. You lost no fans in your performance, and I'm sure you'll be back next year at some stage once the hand heals and the pride heals. And hopefully we'll see you back next year in 2024, bigger and better as well. So hope you enjoyed the review. More importantly, hope you enjoyed the fight night, and we'll talk to you next time.